Welcome to my channel Alien Signal. The Galactic Union believed it had studied every dangerous species in the known universe. For thousands of years, their scientists had categorized civilizations, cataloged their weaknesses, and documented their biology. Most species had predictable limits: oxygen tolerance, temperature ranges, chemical vulnerabilities. Humans, however, were still a mystery. They had only recently joined the wider galactic community, and already their reputation was unsettling. Reports said humans consumed chemicals that should have been lethal. They thrived in environments that would hospitalize most species. They drank liquids strong enough to disinfect surgical equipment. But many alien officials believed these stories were exaggerated myths. Commander Zarek of the Varelian Dominion did not believe in myths. He believed in experiments. And today, he planned to prove that humans were not special. The human sat alone at a metallic table inside the observation chamber. His name was Daniel Hayes, a cargo engineer from Earth who had volunteered for an interspecies exchange program. He looked relaxed, leaning back in the chair as if he were sitting in a restaurant rather than inside a laboratory surrounded by armored guards. Behind a thick glass wall, several alien scientists watched him closely. Zarek stood in the center of the room, tall and insectoid, his four golden eyes focused on the human. "Prepare the mixture," he ordered. One of the scientists hesitated. "Commander, the dosage is extremely dangerous." "I know," Zarek replied calmly. "That is the purpose." The technician adjusted the controls. A small robotic arm hovered over a bowl of steaming food placed on the table in front of Daniel. Inside the arm's container was a vial of deep violet liquid. Poison. Not ordinary poison. This was KX-157, one of the deadliest chemical compounds known to the Galactic Union. For most species, a single drop would stop the heart within seconds. The robotic arm slowly released the liquid. 1 drop, 2 drops, 10 drops. The room grew quiet. "Commander," another scientist whispered nervously, "that concentration is 157 times the lethal dose." Zarek didn't look away from the human. "Good." Daniel Hayes looked down at the bowl of food with interest. It smelled different. Not bad. Just different. The aliens had provided meals during the exchange program, but their cooking was usually bland. Protein paste, mineral broth, strange vegetables that tasted like cardboard. This one smelled spicy. Daniel shrugged. "Guess they're improving," he muttered. He picked up the metal utensil. Behind the glass, several alien scientists leaned forward. One whispered, "Should we stop him?" Zarek raised a claw. "No." Daniel took his first bite. The entire room froze. 5 seconds passed. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. The human chewed thoughtfully. He took another bite. And another. Zarek's eyes narrowed. "Monitor his vitals." A technician checked the medical scanner. Heart rate normal. Blood pressure stable. Neural activity unchanged. Another minute passed. Daniel finished half the bowl. He leaned back, smiling slightly. "This is actually pretty good." The observation room erupted with confusion. "That's impossible. The toxin should have dissolved his internal organs. The dosage was fatal to every known species." Zarek stepped closer to the glass. "How is he still alive?" Inside the chamber, Daniel noticed the aliens staring at him. He waved casually. "Hey." No response. He tapped the bowl with his spoon. Can I get some more?" The room fell silent. Zarek slowly turned toward the scientists. "Run the chemical analysis." Again, the machines scanned the remaining food. A holographic readout appeared. KX-157 confirmed. Concentration, 157x lethal dose. One of the researchers looked pale. "There must be an error." "There is no error," Zarek replied. He stared at the human. "Bring me the human biological data." Another hologram appeared, displaying Earth chemistry. The scientists began analyzing. One gasped, "Commander, humans regularly ingest compounds classified as toxins." Examples. The scientist scrolled through the list. Capsaicin, caffeine, ethanol, acetic acid, nicotine. The room grew quieter with every item. "These substances are poisonous," another scientist said. "Yes," the first scientist replied slowly. "But humans consume them voluntarily." Zarek tilted his head. "Why?" The scientist looked confused. "For pleasure." Inside the chamber, Daniel finished the last spoonful. He wiped his mouth and stretched. "Man, I was starving." The door suddenly opened. Several guards entered cautiously. Daniel blinked. "Ah, am I in trouble?" The guards surrounded him, scanning his body. One of them whispered nervously, "Commander, he shows no signs of distress." Zarek entered the chamber slowly. The tall alien studied Daniel carefully. "You consumed the food." "Yeah," Daniel said. "And you feel normal?" Daniel shrugged. "Pretty much." Zarek leaned closer. "You understand that the substance added to your meal is lethal." Daniel paused. "Wait, what?" One of the scientists stepped forward nervously. "The mixture contained KX-157 poison." Daniel blinked again. "Poison?" "Yes." Daniel thought for a moment. "Oh." He scratched his head. "Well, it tasted kind of spicy." The entire room stared at him. Zarek felt something unfamiliar. Concern. Not for the human. For the galaxy. "Explain," he demanded. Daniel shrugged. "Look, humans eat spicy stuff all the time. Back on Earth we've got peppers that feel like they're trying to burn a hole through your skull." "Why would you do that?" one alien asked. "Because it's delicious." The scientists exchanged uneasy glances. One whispered, "Commander, what if human biology processes toxins differently?" Another nodded. "They evolved on a death world." Zarek frowned. "Explain." The scientist pulled up a new chart. "Earth has extreme biodiversity. Plants developed chemical defenses against animals. Over millions of years, humans adapted to consume many of these toxins safely." Daniel nodded proudly. "Yeah, we eat all kinds of crazy stuff." The scientist continued. "Alcohol, for example, is technically poison." Daniel grinned. "Best poison ever." Another scientist spoke quietly. "If humans can tolerate toxic compounds that easily, then their resistance threshold is far higher than ours." Zarek looked back at the empty bowl. The human had eaten 157 lethal doses without discomfort. A troubling thought formed in his mind. What would happen, he said slowly, if humans encountered toxins meant for warfare? The scientists looked at each other. One answered reluctantly, "They might survive." Daniel stood up from the chair. "So, am I good to go?" Zarek studied him carefully. "You are extraordinary." Daniel laughed. "Trust me, I'm really not." Zarek gestured to the bowl. "You consumed a chemical capable of killing an army." Daniel shrugged. "Guess my stomach's tougher than it looks." The commander turned toward his scientists. "Record everything." One of them whispered, "Commander, if humans can survive toxins like this, they could become extremely dangerous." Zarek nodded slowly. "Yes." He looked back at Daniel. "But also extremely valuable." Several hours later, the research logs were updated across the Galactic Union. Human Biological Report, Revision 1. Summary. Humans demonstrate unprecedented tolerance to chemical toxins. Observed subject consumed 157x lethal dosage of KX-157 with no negative effects. Recommendation. Do not attempt chemical assassination against humans. Probability of failure. Extremely high. Additional note. Humans may possess the strongest digestive resilience of any known species. Back in the cafeteria, Daniel sat at a table eating another meal. A nervous alien chef approached. Human, we prepared your food carefully this time. Daniel smiled. Thanks. He tasted the dish. It was bland. Very bland. He looked up. Hey, do you guys have anything spicy? The chef hesitated. Define spicy. Daniel thought for a moment. Something that feels like it might kill me. The chef nearly fainted. Across the room, Commander Zarek watched quietly. The human laughed and continued eating. Zarek turned to his scientists. New directive. Yes, Commander. Never underestimate a species that evolved on a death world. He glanced at Daniel again. And never try to poison a human. Daniel raised his bowl. Seriously though, he called across the room. Can I get seconds? The entire cafeteria froze. Zarek sighed. Humans were going to be very interesting neighbors. And possibly the most terrifying species the galaxy had ever met. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for more cinematic science fiction stories.